eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
What the hell is going on, everyone? Oh, wow, we are out of focus. Wow. That's weird because we weren't before. And we nearly started a stream without a problem. That's 3 in a row now. At least you can hear me this time. Welcome. Thanks for being here. My apologies that we are an hour later than we were meant to be. The internet, actually the electricity got redacted. So I didn't actually think it would be back on yet. I thought we'd maybe have to do this tonight or tomorrow, but we are back. We are live, and hopefully it stays that way. So if I do disappear at any random point, the chances of it being a Pine Gap pigeon that's flown in here to detonate and take me offline is smaller than usual. It's probably just the internet, the electricity, but you never know. It could also be a spy pigeon detonating in my room. A little bit of a schizophrenic show today. It's going to be a lot of fun. As you can see from the thumbnail, we're getting into some Kurt Metzger. Just the one clip from Kurt. Today's show is going to be a whole bunch. It's a mishmash of a whole bunch of different things. Okay, but obviously I had to pick someone for the thumbnail, and Kurt Metzger in some kind of like Russian hat. I don't know what it was. Seemed fitting. Seemed very fitting. So shout out to him. It's going to be a lot of fun today, and I'm looking forward to it. It might be a long show as well. So just before we dive straight in, Anti-Hero, you little freak, thank you for becoming a member. Yvonne with the $3. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Corrupt NPC gifted a membership. And he also says, I can't stick around. Got to be up to load trucks for work in less than 5 hours and straight into an hour of Muay Thai. Love y'all. Stay weird. My man, thank you very much. Apologies we're late today. A few people will be missing out, unfortunately. Tommy, my man, with the $2 sticker. And Andrew Matthews says, have you ever heard of or looked into the Donald Marshall story? Dude claims the Illuminati clones people and pulls them out of REM sleep into clone bodies. I have looked into him a little bit, and there was something about him that I was just like, I'm not feeling it. I don't know what it is, but like something feels off. That being said, I probably haven't given it enough of a chance. So, you know, Andrew, if you think there is like a really compelling interview from him or some clips that I should check out that you think are really good, send them my way. I'm definitely open to checking it out again. And Prison Mike says, a wizard arrives exactly when he means to. That he does, Prison Mike. Thank you very much. So, okay, let's get into the show. Global cults, bloodlines, UFO disclosure, and how it's all connected. Like I said, it's a bit of a schizo show today, which is just how we like it. And I want to try and talk about that throughout all of these clips, because I really do think that. Like, I really do think the powers that be in this world, whatever they are, ultimately are in charge of the UFO problem, potentially even responsible for what we see in the sky to some varying degree. And the reason why we will never really get the disclosure that we all dream of is because it's not just about peeling off the lid and being like, surprise, aliens are real, surprise, UFOs are real. It's going to be like, surprise, UFOs are real, and we've been using them to perform all kinds of shit that would make you realize that you're ruled by some psychopathic tyranny. Okay, that's what I believe. That's what I believe. And I think the more you look into this stuff, you realize that it's all connected. But I think a lot of people, understandably, are very just kind of like focused and honed in on like UFOs and aliens because they are sort of exciting and, you know, makes you wonder what is out there in the wide world. And I do think that those things are real, but I also think they are the most convenient cover up and distraction for what is something much like larger and darker that's going on in the world. And that's what I think we'll see throughout the clips today. So we'll try and keep that in mind as we dive into all the weirdness today. We're going to start off more in UFO world, but absolutely where it kind of connects to, you know, is it a psyop? Is elements of it a psyop? And kind of tying into where we've been in the last couple of streams. This came out from a podcast.
In this chapter, Chris tells
called Somewhere in the Skies. And this, the podcast host here is basically pulling some information from the UFO of God book, which is Chris Bledsoe's book, and highlighting where he seems to be contradicting himself. So we're going to take a look at this and then we'll talk about that briefly.
a story about an envelope he was sent. Okay, so it says, the last item I shook out was a small jewelry box. I opened it to find a 24-karat gold pin with a distinct triangle inside of a circle. It was almost exactly the same shape I had seen on the chest of beings at our home in 2007. I picked it up and it was surprisingly heavy. There was nothing written on it, nor any other distinguishing features. One day I would learn that this symbol is a closely guarded secret amongst those like Tim who work with the phenomena. It was known as an OP pin, short for off planet, given to those who had direct experience with the phenomena. A small
And we heard this. We heard this in the Jesse Michaels interview, right? He basically said that verbatim, that this is for people who have been off planet.
circle knows about them, and an even smaller circle has them. It's a good Christmas present, though I hardly knew who to thank for it. So I'm just going to go back to this bit here. He says the mailer came in, was unmarked and had no return address. So then he shares some pictures of these kind of things. You know, this is Ryan and Chris. This is all their posting. That's one of the things from the envelope. This is the pin from the envelope. This is the Camp David thing with the envelope in the background. You can kind of just see it here, right? So then this is a picture of the envelope that I was given years ago by Ryan himself. And you can see on the top left there, it is from Tim Taylor. There is a return address on it. So already Chris is lying about it in his book. He knows exactly who this came from. So that story became, no, it's a mysterious thing. So then this badge that was sent to Chris. So you can see here, there's triangle on it. These again are pictures from their social media, you know, just emphasizing that. They have posted these. You can see the word NASA just here.
Yep.
So line number 2, Chris said there was no writing on it whatsoever. So I went and did a little searching around because I wanted to know what this pin was. And lo and behold, a secret knowledge of Planet Pin is available on eBay for $12.
For $12, you too.
There's one here that's $250. So, you know,
Okay.
these things are prized after, and it's listed on Wikipedia. It is a NASA space flight medal that is given to anyone who participates in any mission involving space flight. So not just people that go off planet, but people that sit in mission control. With that, what was that saying again, Susan?
False in one, false in all.
False in one, false in all.
So, and look, just on that saying at the end there, false in one, false in all. I've never really heard that before, but from the way that I interpret that, it kind of means like if you're lying about one thing, you're kind of lying about everything. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, to be honest, but like at least I understand the sentiment of what they're saying. But this bit here, okay, so this pin that Chris is wearing in the Jesse Michaels interview is apparently available to be purchased on eBay, right? This doesn't necessarily mean that like Chris is like, this doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, I think you'll find that you can purchase replica badges, jackets, jerseys, trinkets. Like replicas are not necessarily uncommon. Okay. So I don't necessarily know if this really means anything. The part where she says, what was it? Let's just listen to the end here.
Prized after, and it's listed on Wikipedia. It is a NASA space flight medal that is given to anyone who participates in any mission involving space flight. So not just people that go off planet, but people that sit in mission control. With that,
so like, look, I totally understand the, you know, the suspicions around this kind of stuff, right? And I really do sort of lean to the idea that I don't know what is going on with Chris Bledsoe. I do think Patrick Avetta did a really interesting documentary. Well, it's basically a documentary. Is quite long, with a lot of interesting points about where these people seem to be contradicting themselves. And it's not just Patrick saying it. He showed some other people as well. I have to say personally, I don't think, and again, this is just think, I could be wrong. I don't think the Bledsoes, at least Chris, is intentionally trying to deceive anyone. Given his history and what's happened to him, I think it's far more likely that he is being used or manipulated or something like mentally compromised in some way. That's what I think. And I think that makes sense. When you think of like the details here, like in the interview that he did with Jesse, he's saying that these pins are given to people who have been off planet. When according to this Wikipedia article, technically they're given to anyone who's been part of a mission that involved a ship or a crew going off planet, right? So even the people on Earth in the mission control rooms, right? I think if you have an agenda against someone, I don't know if this is going to annoy people because people might think I'm being like super on the fence and like not really taking an opinion, but this is just, I can't help but see things this way. I think if you have an agenda against someone, something like that is such an easy thing to like grip onto and be like, oh, see, he's clearly bullshitting. He said X and it's actually XYZ. Do you know what I mean? But I also think like, anyone, could just maybe he actually thought that. Maybe he really thought that. Turns out that's not actually the case. And now that people fact check it, it's like, oh, so he's a liar. It's like, well, maybe he just got it wrong. Maybe, with his older age, there are little mental slips. Like, I'm not even trying to defend him because, like I said, I do think there's something weird going on there. I don't know what it is. I don't really know how anyone could know, but something just sort of feels a bit weird, right? I think most people sort of agree with that. But then at the same time, I think some of the things being presented here, it's like, if you already have a idea or agenda that you are sort of like stuck in, a lot of these things could be easy to like they're confirmation bias things. I will say though, this is interesting. Like, to me, out of everything they spoke about, this is interesting. The fact that in the book, Chris says that he didn't know where it comes from. And then like years and years later, this picture surfaces where it clearly says Tim Taylor with a return address. Well, it's not even clear that that's a return address. You would assume it is. And that's why it's redacted. But that is straight up a conflicting story. I don't know. I think this is a really interesting thing that I guess given that it's 2026, it's sort of like unfolding more and more now. And I guess more eyes and pressure will probably be on them, given that they, made some pretty wild predictions that were going to happen this year. But what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think? Like, do you think I'm being a little bit too generous here? Or do you think this whole thing is sus as fuck? Because I could definitely be being a little bit too generous, but this is just how I see things. I can't help but see them from like 7 perspectives at once because I generally think about 7 things at once. I wish I didn't. I wish I could turn it off, but I can't. Poll it. Okay, we'll throw up a quick poll while we get through the next couple of super chats. We'll just say, are you feeling sus about Chris? Are you feeling more sus? Because I think we spoke about this the other day, right? We spoke about this the other day, but new things come out, the discussion evolves, and your mind should change, right? We should all be willing to change our mind and our perspective in the face of like new evidence. Okay, while that runs, Toxic Fart says, Josh, you look a little older. It is true. It is true. I am a year older. That's why we've been a bit quiet the last couple of days. I had my birthday. And then I had my day after my birthday where I just didn't do anything other than order food and play RuneScape. And now here we're back again. And then we're going to get back on the grind now. We've got to edit the Armin Hillman interview, which will be coming out soon. And got a bunch of other things that I want to work on in the next couple of weeks. So that'll all be coming. JCOM says Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile is down in the East US today. Okay. Hopefully it's not connected. Adam Dev says Giorgiani did a really thorough interview yesterday. Who was that with, Adam? Shigley gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Shig, you legend. And UFO Truth Quest says Bledsoe is the textbook useful idiot. Real story injected with falsities by the giant group of CIA people who came running. Who knew? I think realistically and objectively, that feels like the most likely situation. And I do think that's kind of what Diana Pasolka said this, right? She said, this is why, maybe it wasn't why she distanced herself, but I know that she doesn't really talk to these people anymore. But she did also say that she felt like the situation with the Bledsoes is like a modern Benowitz operation or something like that. I don't know if that's why she's not within the crew anymore, but I think she's definitely spooked out. We could say that at the very least. Wrath says Bledsoe is not sus to me, but Tim Taylor definitely is. Well, could you not say they're like one and the same? Well, they're obviously not one and the same. They're completely different people. But given the relationship between the two and the way it all happened, if A is sus, it's probably going to be having an effect on B. I think. And 67% of you guys sort of agree with that, saying yes, you are feeling a little bit more sus. But and that's okay, but let's keep our minds open because we don't really know. There's no proof, but I think it's healthy skepticism at the very least. All right, moving on. Staying in UFO world. This is a bit of an older clip. I'm sure most of us have seen this by now. But David Grush making a few comments about James Clapper, who was in the Age of Disclosure documentary. We've got another clip to sort of follow this and further the discussion as well.
General Clapper, the former DNI in the documentary. I certainly applaud him for at least speaking out in general. He goes on, I believe, I've only seen clips of Age of Disclosure, not the whole thing, where there was a program when he was the director of national intelligence where they were tracking these vehicles over Area 51, of course, the famed classified test location. And I'm a little bit disappointed as a fellow Air Force officer, and certainly General Clapper rose to the ranks as 3-star general. That's all he said in the documentary, that was a program he was aware of. In fact, without being inappropriate, I will say that General Clapper was well aware of the crash retrieval issue, managed the crash retrieval issue, and when he was the DNI, USDI, and DIA director, he placed people in critical roles to manage this issue, both publicly and I'll just say non-publicly as well. And I'll allow the audience distill what I'm saying at the risk of being inappropriate or going too far with my discussion. So General Clapper, Stephanie O'Sullivan, other folks in the IC that are well aware of this issue, that were in rooms discussing this issue, I ask you to be greater leaders on this. I should not be the only former military officer and intelligence official that is being completely candid with the information that they were exposed to. So perhaps...
And once again, James Clapper understates what he knows and what he's done.
So we've got James Clapper, who was in the Age of Disclosure documentary, right? Which I think most of us would agree felt like a very controlled release of ideas and information that was sort of geared towards this idea that we need to give a group of people amnesty for them to actually come forward because, well, I mean, I guess you only need to give amnesty if crimes have been committed, right? It's kind of like saying, I'll tell you, but promise you won't get mad. Like officially create some kind of like new bill where you legally can't get mad at me if I tell you about all the crimes that I committed. That's like generally the idea behind it, right? So, I mean, before we get into the juicy bit here, I want to just say that, like, given this, if you didn't think that the people who are in a documentary made by like a well-known producer, like a Hollywood level producer, right? Hollywood level producers making a documentary with high level people who are claiming to be in sort of like in and around these programs. If you're not feeling that is like some kind of propaganda piece or that these people are implicated much further than they're letting on, you seem like you're part of their team. Like you're like opposition in a way. Opposition is not really the right word, but if you're not feeling that way, you need to sort of like provide some information as to like why you don't think that is the case. Because I think for most people, that's sort of like the glaringly obvious perspective here. Actually, before we get to this next clip, what I found really interesting is this. I think it's around here. Let's try to find it. Listen to this.
One, of course, the famed classified test location. And I'm a little bit disappointed as a fellow Air Force officer, and certainly General Clapper rose to the ranks as 3-star general. That's all he said in the documentary, that was a program he was aware of. In fact, without being inappropriate,
here, this bit,
I will say that General Clapper was well aware of the crash retrieval issue, managed the crash retrieval issue, and when he was the DNI, USDI, and DIA director, he placed people in critical roles to manage this issue, both publicly and I'll just say non-publicly as well. And
so he managed the crash retrieval programs, managed them. Like a top-down view over all of these things that are going on. Like, for example, I don't know if this is, like to me, if we, like when I hear that and then I think about, say, the Jonathan Weygandt story, right? Where he's like 1997 in Peru. They get sent out to a crash, and it's like an egg-shaped craft stuck in the middle of a mountain, and it's all of this wild shit. Apparently, they see a being in a body, whatever, and then this group of like black camo dudes, apparently like Department of Energy, roll up and basically take control of the situation and arrest Jonathan. To me, that sounds like James Clapper or someone of his caliber, so perhaps someone who was in the position before or after him, I don't know, is like conducting that, essentially, is like being like, okay, we need to go do X, Y, Z. So if you have that kind of level of like intel, and then you're making this documentary, which is so surface level, the dishonesty is just like glaring. Like, I just can't trust you. That's just me personally. Maybe some of you guys do. And again, if you do and you think I'm wrong, I think like the onus is sort of on you to like provide why. Why do you think people who are along my line of thinking, which I think is probably the majority, feel this way? Like, why should we not feel this way? Because, you know what I mean? It just feels like that is the obvious perspective right now. And then he also says positions, people have been placed in public and non-public positions to manage this situation. What do you guys think he means by that? Like, when he says non-public, does he mean like covertly? Like they are public, but it's not public that you would know? Or like, 'cause what else would that mean? If they're not public, how would you manage the situation, right? Public, I think, would be perhaps like people like Sean Kirkpatrick, right? Where it's like, you're clear, you know, once the pressure is applied to you to like help make some kind of change or contribute to disclosure, and the whole world is kind of looking at you, it now becomes glaringly obvious that you have some kind of ulterior motive, or you have money in your back pocket that is basically paying you to look the other way. Sean looked the other way, Kirkpatrick, as we like to call him on this channel. So I don't know what Andy says as in private companies, private secret societies. Yeah, it's an interesting one either way. But I mean, the fact that someone in that position is placing people strategically, probably through all levels, right? So we've heard that it's not just a high level thing, that they're almost like, you know, like moles, for lack of a better word, that, you know, someone with a lower rank might actually be read into this, and they're kind of managing it at a lower level, and their boss or their senior may not be read in. So there's this like, you know, it's just rotten at every level, which is scary, because it's like, okay, who can you trust at that point? And, you know, feeling like that about your own government and your own military is a scary thing. Like, who can you trust? That's a scary thing, I think. Let's jump to the next clip, which we're going to have to jump to the other screen for. Yes. Yeah. Okay. This is just a very quick one. Just quickly though, Toxic Fart says General Clapper. James Clapper with the home run deep in the left field. And Bleak13 says, happy birthday for yesterday, brother, my man. Thank you very much, Bleak. Very generous, $20. Thank you, brother. Okay, this is former NSA director Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers with a bunt thrown out at first base. Sorry, I'll stop doing that. Former NSA director Mike Rogers speaking about James Clapper and the fact that in 2016 he asked for everything that everyone knew about the UFO problem, which, you know, if you consider the clip that we just watched, why is he doing that?
The director of national intelligence, James Clapper, calls me, Mike, I need you to go through all of it. I need the team to go through all of NSA's holding all of its files, and I need everything that you have on UFOs. And I'm like, what, sir? You want me to do a review of our databases on UFOs? And I'm literally thinking to myself, is this some kind of joke? But clearly it's not. The director of national intelligence, James Clapper, calls.
Why would he do that? So apparently we're hearing that this guy was running the show. And in 2016, he asked former NSA director Mike Rogers to give me everything that you know about the UFO topic, whatever files that you have on UFOs, right? I think on surface level, and perhaps it seems like Mike's perspective here, and if this was made public at the time, which I don't think it probably was, people would probably hear that and be like, oh, wow, seems like we're finally taking this thing seriously. Seems like, they're really trying to investigate and see what's going on. When in reality, given what we heard from David Grush, the reality of it is they're saying, hey, give me everything that you guys know about the UFO topic so we can fucking burn it and make sure you don't get any closer to understanding what's actually going on. Again, thank you. Have it on my desk by 5 o'clock on Friday. Thank you for that. Do you know what I mean? Like this, on the surface level, it's like, oh, exciting. We're finally taking this seriously. It's like, no, we've been taking it seriously since the 60s. We've probably actually been reverse engineering and flying these things since the 60s. And this is just our, decade, our annual, our 10-yearly checkup on making sure that you guys don't get anywhere near finding out what's actually going on. Thank you. Have it on my desk by Friday. Okay, let's move forward now. Shifting, actually not too much away from the UFO topic yet, because this is Billy Corgan this week, who we've covered extensively on the channel, had some very interesting experiences.
At different times,
This is him speaking about the fact that elements of the government approached him to leverage his reach and his power, quote unquote, for what? I'm not really sure. But given the experiences that he's had and that he's spoken about, and the things that potentially happened to Tom DeLonge, was another famous rock star musician who was leveraged for his reach, influence, and power. Bleak celebrating 8 months, my man. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you. All right, here we go. Billy Corgan, who does seem to consistently fall asleep as he's talking.
At different times, I've been approached by elements of the U.S. government to be involved in things that were just way above my pay grade. I've never talked about them in any depth publicly, but I've had experiences where I would find myself in a room with people and think, why are they talking to me? And it was something out of like Eyes Wide Shut.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Eyes Wide Shut.
And what did they say? Like
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
No, because I have.
Why do you do that, Billy? Why do you do that? Why do you say things like this? Like you did on Howard Stern. You told everyone about a shapeshifter and then you don't tell anyone about it. And now you're telling us that the government approached you, but you're not going to tell us anything more about it.
I haven't talked about it. I can certainly talk about it in sort of like in a sort of a kind of a I was there kind of way.
Well, yeah.
But it's similar to when I talked about experiencing a shapeshifter on Howard Stern. It became this thing where I was hunted in airports. Please tell me the shapeshifter story.
I wonder why. Okay, when you go on a public forum like the Joe Rogan experience and say, I saw someone shapeshift, but I'm not going to tell you who, don't be surprised when everyone's like, please tell us. Because you're basically literally announcing that that reality is completely different to what everyone has been taught to believe. So, forgive everyone for naturally being a little bit curious.
All I can say is I've experienced supernatural things, and I've experienced things where I've had elements of the U.S. government reach out to me because they somehow want to hook my influence, which is not that great, into whatever they're after. So having had personal experience of this, and of course there's lots of other insinuations, and I certainly would say sitting here quite openly, it seems very, very obvious to me that there are elements in popular music where people have been compromised knowingly because they were offered kind of a Faustian bargain. Pick door number one and we're going to push you to the moon. Because in music, and this is certainly my area of expertise, there are people who are protected and they get every benefit of that protection. And I know it because I know the game, because I've lived it. And there are other people where they decide to press a button and throw them off the ship. Now, it might be because they're engaging in bad behavior, and we talked a little bit about that. But in other cases, I think just because they won't do the bidding that people want them to do. You can believe me or you can't. But I can say sitting here that I've been in the room with some of the most famous people in the world. I've been, invited to the White House 2 times to have meetings that were, essentially off the record meetings. Why? So if you want to call me crazy or wacky or talk about my...
Can you say which presidency this was?
It was during the Bush administration.
Oh wow.
And I'm not a Republican. So that was even more shocking to me. I grew up in a blue state.
Weird, right? AJ says this guy's head is beyond shaved. I like it. So there you go. You've got Billy Corgan basically asleep and also saying that what happened. I mean, look, this is what I'm deducting from this, is that what happened to Tom DeLonge simply tried to happen to him. They tried to do what happened to Tom DeLonge. He was approached by high-level people in the government off the record to leverage his influence and reach on what you would assume is like a younger generation, right? Because I think the only people that are going to be listening to someone like Billy Corgan, the lead singer of a sort of grunge rock band, is the younger generation. And I guess, and I talk a lot about the fact that we seem to be in an information war. So what other way, you know, as time goes on, people grow up, younger people get older and start becoming more tapped into, you know, social media and what's going on in the world, where their belief systems and their mind goes is of value, right? It's almost like crop, right? Every so often you're going to have a new crop that needs to be harvested. Or their mind is sort of ready to be like, I'm a conservative, I'm a this, I'm a that. You know what I mean? Like at some point that mind goes somewhere, and there would absolutely be operations and plans and organizations set up to try and capture wherever that mind goes. Because again, as we've said many times, your belief and your time mentally and where you place it, your attention, is extremely valuable. It's pretty much everything, literally. If you could get the entire world to believe what you want them to and go along the line of your line of thinking, then you basically have the world in your hand, almost literally. Andrew Matthews says, I think Don Marsh seems like a nut, but I can't help but hear song lyrics and come back to his story like, what the fuck? Ode to Sleep on the album Vessels by 21 Pilots, for instance. Okay, I'm interested, bro. I am interested. Like I said, the first time I checked it out, which coincidentally, after I did my Billy Corgan video, which is the biggest one on my channel, which was obviously about shapeshifters, tequila, you know, all this kind of shit. A lot of people were reaching out to me about Donald Marshall. That's how I actually found out about him. So I did watch a video and I was a bit unsure about it. But if you've got something that's convincing, I'm more than willing to look at it. Aegon says, Josh, I bet you can email Bledsoe tonight and have an appointment in South Carolina with the phenomenon by the morning. See it for yourself. I would love to. You guys know I'm planning to be in the States this year. If that were to happen, I would love to go there, meet Chris, document it, video it, and experience it for myself. And you guys know I would come back on here and give you just the absolute honest assessment of what I feel like happened. And I hope it's real. Absolutely. I want it all to be real, of course. But you know, we got to call it as it is, though. We can't gaslight ourselves. Josh, when is the next raw material video out? It'll probably be out within the next few days. It probably would have been out already, but because I had my birthday, we just had a couple of days off. Thomas Curry celebrating 9 months says, "Love you, Josh, and Weirdo fan." My man, Thomas. Thank you for being here, bro, and for the 9 months of support. Okay, let's keep moving. We're talking about governments doing spooky shit, potentially trying to leverage influence over a younger generation. Here is more evidence of government spooky shit.
You're gonna notice a drone
and potential. Okay, this is a short clip from Joe Rogan. So let's just preface this by saying this is the Joe Rogan experience. I do not own this. I love Joe Rogan. I love Superbam. Superbam are fantastic. And this isn't mine. I don't own it. Go watch Joe Rogan.
Picks up a guy behind that container over there.
Sorry, for context. This is Palmer Luckey, also known as Tito from Rocket Power. And he is demonstrating a new AI technology that the military basically has. So he's the founder of Anduril, which is like one of the AI arms of the military industrial complex.
And what's going to happen is when he walks behind that container, I'm able to continue to see where he is and what he's doing. So here's Ghost X is the drone that's watching. So just watch for a moment. So the blue force is my friendlies. So see that little right-hand corner where it sees behind the containers?
Uh-huh.
They're tracking where the bad guy is. They're tracking where my guys are. And then watch when they go behind the container. So I can actually see through it and watch. Now they're engaging the guy over there, and he's down.
Wow.
So
I don't know about you guys. This is it's the little sound clips that you could hear there, and like the voice that came through sounded exactly like Call of Duty. I'm not trying to say it's fake, but like I don't know why. Like that sounded exactly like Call of Duty. Weird. Maybe I played too much Call of Duty. I don't know. But this shit is crazy, right? This shit is crazy. Actually, there's 30 seconds left. We'll finish it, and then I'll give you my take. Josh, what's your age? No offense intended. I'm just curious. I just turned 17.
This is a system that allows everybody to basically be operating as one combined hive mind, where you can all share a view of the world. And by the way, this view that I have, it's shared now with all of the robots as well. So anything I see, like let's see I see someone inside of a building, every drone and every person now sees that person where he is.
By the way, this guy's way too excited to have created a hive mind. Can we just say that? That's not a good thing.
It's so crazy that I was born at the right time to actually get to build all of this stuff.
Yeah, and so unfortunate that I was born at the same time as you. That is also unfortunate. This is actually wild though. And I do wonder, like, the dudes that invent this kind of shit. I mean, objectively, incredible technology. Like it is incredible. It's amazing that we can do something like this. Like, let's just say that. But I do wonder if that, like, the people inventing this kind of stuff, like Silicon Valley, tech bros, rich billionaires, balls deep in AI, probably physically and mentally. These guys, I wonder if they are just so caught up in like the excitement of the achievements of what they're creating and how like profoundly kind of reality changing it is, right? I wonder, are you guys just so caught up in the excitement that you don't realize that like the sort of the danger of what you're creating or how it could be weaponized against you, but probably more so us, right? Given, who you are and where you're from, but the rest of the world. Like, it just doesn't, it's like, do you not see the other side of this technology? Or do you just have this like blind trust that like the government would never do that to me? The government would never do anything bad to us. They would never use an AI hive mind that can surveil and see through buildings against us. Do you really think that? Or are you actually just an arm of the Antichrist? I don't know. Because, he literally looks like Uncle Tito from Rocket Power. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, looking very excited about his new helmet. It's hard to imagine that at the same time, this guy is trying to usher in the Antichrist. Like, I don't really think that, but I can't help but think, like, how do you not see the dangers and how this can be weaponized against American people, Australian people, like normal people? Because, many people, like whistleblowers have come out and, doesn't really take, even just doing a bit of your own research, you can see that like a lot of the things and technologies that Western countries have developed have absolutely been used on their own people. Okay, obviously. So to be this excited creating something like this and not thinking it's going to be used against you in some kind of Orwellian way is kind of crazy to me. And it just makes me think, are you naive or are you the left leg of the Antichrist? I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you guys think? January 1977, Josh was born. That is correct. Yes, 1977. That is accurate. Interestingly, I think the we watched the James Fox documentary the other night, Moment of Contact, and the new one. And at one point, he cited, like, when they were going out to, I think, the crash location, they said on the 13th of January. And I was like, wait, did this whole thing happen on the 13th of January? Because that's my birthday. And then I was like, is this how I got here? it's all starting to make sense now. If this happened on the 13th of January, I think I'm starting to like get some kind of memory regression, and I think this is how I actually got here. I'm the one that they didn't capture. I ran off into the woods naked, all oily and naked, and here I am. This is how we got here. All right, let's we've got another clip. We're going to be we're listening to Kurt Metzger now. So this is Kurt on the Joe Rogan Experience with a nearly 5-minute clip. So please let me say again, I love Joe Rogan. I love Superbam. Shout out to Superbam. Great guys. Definitely don't use AI to just scrape the internet and attack, copyright claim anyone who uses a mere cent from a video that they are working with. Great guys. So just shout out to Joe Rogan. The link is below. And we might have to stop this one as we go. But here is Kurt talking about Bloodlines, all the schizo crazy shit. Okay, here we go.
And so they will never do disclosure. Let me put it this way. We're aliens. These are not separate topics. They're all part of one thing. And they're never, ever going to disclose shit, because if they ever do, the Rizzler, those fat fucks from that family that goes to, Walmart and sausage rolls?
What?
The Costco family? If the Costco, listen, if that Costco family finds out what these motherfuckers have been up to for since World War II ended, they will drop their sausage rolls and rip them apart limb from limb, like a zombie movie. Because
it's so true. It is so true. Wait till the Costco families find out about Michael Aquino, right? Wait till I've been saying for a while I'm going to do the deep dive on him, and some new stuff came out. I don't know if you guys have seen about the connection with like Turning Point USA. So I feel like that's a nice little addition to kind of add in with a bit of a deep dive on him. I think I want to do that in the next week or so. Wait till the Costco families find out that the guy who wrote the book about psychological operations and warfare was just like a insanely dark-looking Satanist, right? And surprisingly, people, when I've spoken about him, I actually get a lot of messages of people like defending him in a sense of saying that like I don't actually understand. Like, I don't actually understand what it's about. And I'm open to that, right? I definitely don't think I don't know everything. But then I would just say, like, why on the surface does it seem so dark and scary? And also the child abuse allegations. You know, that's an interesting part to, you know, why are you defending that? But that's okay. Let's keep listening.
Because it's that bad. So that's why, I think this year they're going to have a hearing in a skiff, and we're going to find out what the wow, that really paid off, huh?
Yeah.
Let's go talk to some fucking French Illuminati motherfucker. Oh, are they ultra dimensionals? They just string you along with bullshit like a J.J. Abrams movie.
French Illuminati motherfucker. What do you guys think about that? Is anyone offended by that, or do we agree with Kurt here? Are there some French Illuminati motherfuckers stringing us along? What do you guys think?
Or show Lost. They do Lost. Mystery box.
So what do you think the whole UFO thing is then? Because it's for sure
I
some
think
of it
names,
is a psyop.
Clearly,
right?
because the names change so often from UFO to UAP.
Well, not so often. It's only a couple of times they've done it.
Every time. So UFOs don't exist, right? Even though it just means something unidentified, but it doesn't exist. It's swamp gas. Then they go, no, they do exist, but we don't know what they are. And then they change, the brand change, like Diddy.
Right.
Those people get smushed at his fucking show. Now his name is Puffy. You understand?
Comparing UFO disclosure to Diddy is crazy. I love it though. I love it. And like, again, to go back to the start of the show with James Clapper, talking about, you know, allegedly being the head, according to David Grush, of crash retrieval operations, which we could only assume is probably at least a decade ago, potentially longer, right? I mean, this might even be public information we can find somewhere. I don't know off the top of my head, but a while ago. And here we are in 2026 with like a Hollywood level production movie, which of course was 40 Australian dollars after you pay for your Amazon subscription. Let's not forget that. There he is in a documentary that's kind of talking in such vague terms about like requiring funding to get ahead of this topic and making sure that like America are the leader in figuring all of this out, and that we got to beat China, and that, you know, there are people that can tell us more, but we need to give them amnesty. it all does feel like a little bit of a very slow, calculated play to just drag the whole thing out. And it is my opinion that like aliens, UFOs, all this kind of shit, I do think it's real. I mean, and I base that more on like real experiences, just real people like me and you who have had crazy experiences, right? Maybe a small percentage of them are just crazy, sure. But there's that many of them that there's no way they're all crazy, right? And that to me is enough to simply say that I'm positive that there is something going on, right? There is something otherworldly, something extra to our reality that we're not told about. But I think all of that is the perfect distraction to hide crazy advanced technology that the United States, probably Israel as well, and maybe the rest of the West, but also maybe not. I do think at least in Australia, we're more of like the retarded little brother that like doesn't get invited to hang out with the cool kids, but like will use you to like go and buy us alcohol or something like that. Do you know what I mean? We'll just kind of use you to do some shit that we don't really want to do. You can kind of hang out with us, but like we'll probably tease you when you're not around, or even maybe we'll tease you to your face. You know what I mean? That's the relationship I think Australia has to the big dogs. But I absolutely think this alien topic is real, but it's the perfect distraction for the fact that a lot of this stuff has been used, worked out, flown probably decades ago and still to this day.
You understand?
Got it.
Like a shitty airline with a
Frontier or something.
Yeah, Frontier, some bigger airline
Spirit.
buys a shitty airline, so
Right.
they're substandard planes. They can still use them. Then when something bad happens, they just cut that off, and they got the maximum value. Okay, it's just one scam that these fuckers do over and over again. And it is for money, but at the top levels, dude, money is secrets of the real currency at the tippy top levels.
Right, but what do you think it is? What do you think is going on?
I think a fucking cult of basically there's like two races of humans on the earth, and it's not based on skin color or any shit. It's based on psychopathy.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm so with this theory. Keep going, Kurt.
And there's people that can pull the trigger and people that can't, and there's people got to be trained and conditioned to do it, and people that don't have to be. And all that royalty, don't know why we still have that in the world at all. I don't know why anybody thinks that's, the commies are bad. Why are there kings at all? Anyway.
Dude, I love this. I love that he's saying this because I think I've said this on the channel before, but like we're obviously brought up in this society with a monarchy and like, so it's normal. It's normal. But, and we look back in our history, there have always been kings and queens. So it's kind of like, okay, it's not weird, but also at the same time, we're also like, oh yeah, we still have them, but like, it's not like the old days where they kind of rule over us. We just have them. But they're not ruling over us. And I don't know if the queen and the king directly are. Maybe they're even just like a facade for something greater and bigger, probably more likely the case. But like, I think it's like the most primest example of brainwashing and like indoctrination. The fact that a country, I'm talking about the UK specifically here, and I know not everyone thinks like this, but like majority of like NPC people will like will go to Buckingham Palace, watch the changing of the guard, look through these giant golden gates at this family that is on the other side of these big sort of golden gates protected, while behind them their country is literally being overran and essentially burning down. And they'll be like, yes, I love the royal family. Like, bro, you are fucking brainwashed. I'm sorry, but you are. And like the fact that there is still like this level of worship to them. And even like the fact that the idea is like, we still have the royal family, but they don't rule over us. It's not like the old school kings and queens. It's like, okay, so why do we have them? Why do you even worship them then? If they don't actually do anything, you're still happy to just like bend over for them while your country burns down. Meanwhile, they're not doing anything about it. Like, that's ridiculous to me. And this is just my own opinion, by the way. I don't hate you if you like the royal family. I would just have some questions for you of like why you feel that way, because it does not make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense at all. Let's keep going. I'm pausing a lot because Superbam and I have a great relationship.
Anyone? Why do you like that shit? It's crazy. It's inbred. People that are so fucking inbred That's probably why they look like fucking reptiles. If you, that's why their heads aren't shaped fucking right, and they think they're the great. They think that they come from a different lineage than you.
This shit is real, by the way, and I wish I prepared a picture of print. Is it Philip? Which is the one that was like a walking corpse for a while? Or he wasn't even walking; he was in a chair. It's like you could have said the royal family have been rolling a corpse around for a few years, and some people would have believed them. Which one was that? That was Philip.
And so there's all kinds of stupid cults all over the place that have these like, you know, everybody can pin it on the Jews like oh, they think they're chosen, but that's all the cults, man. That's all of them think they're the chosen ones. The Mormons think it.
Yep.
The Jehovah's thought it.
Catholics.
Yeah, well, why would you be in it if you're not the one who's right? So I don't even hold that against nobody. But where you know you're dealing with fucking lizard people, metaphorically, but maybe real.
Probably.
Is the obsession with their bloodline, and they've got a divine right to do this or that. When you hear people talking about their divine right to fucking kill you or do whatever, there's your problem.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, you hear about bloodlines, it sounds so, it's just royalty. And you don't get to know, by the way, who like the real powers are. We're like a Raj state, like India. The world, I mean.
Mm.
And like I've said this before too, that when you have people in the world who see other people as like subhuman, or at the very least that they are superior in some way, whether it's like their bloodline or they think they've got a divine right to rule over other people, like as long as that exists, you will never have peace in the world. Like you will never have peace in the world. I don't think ever. That's just my opinion. And there are, you know, like there are verses in the Talmud that explicitly say this. Like they just outright say that certain groups are like akin to animals, right? And just to be clear, don't twist what I'm saying. I don't think it's a Jewish thing. I think it's like a Zionist, greater Israel, weird psychopathic dominance thing that's going on there. In fact, I've actually seen a lot of things recently with like Orthodox Jews speaking out against Zionism, which I think is fantastic, and we need more of that, right? So people can differentiate the difference between like just going, it's the Jews, which is like a very retarded blanket statement to make, versus like, no, Jews are normal people. There is some kind of like project being ran out of Israel to kind of expand out and take over the world. And it's not the Jews. It's a Zionist thing. And I think people speaking out, especially people with close ties to that, is super powerful. And there needs to be more of that. Toxic Fart says, have a cream and crumble, my treat. Hopefully this is enough. Thank you, bro. Cream and crumble. Absolutely. I can't wait to go back there. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate all of your support. Michael Frost says, yeah, the ones that destroy our existence, great. By the way, come back to Australia, mate. Keep up the good work. Nothing wrong with 1977. No, not at all. And I will be back one day. I will. Thank you very much, Michael. Angel Lee. Sorry, I think Angeli. God, if that could be anything. Says, have you seen Moment of Contact 2? The testimony from the neurosurgeon is so powerful. Yes, we actually watched it. Was it last night? Yeah, it was last night we watched it. Fantastic. And very moving at the end there. Awesome way to finish the movie. And Andrew says, divine right sounds like the black nobility. Thank you, Andrew. All right, let's finish off this clip. We've got about a minute left.
You know what I mean?
Right. So if that's the case, and we both agree that's the case, so what is the UAP thing?
Probably a bunch of different stuff. There's probably drones. There's probably just orbs that... Plasma physics, by the way, I tell everybody read Joseph P. Farrell, because that's the guy's got some of the best work on that. Plasma, the fourth state of matter that in school they didn't teach us about for some reason. There's gas, liquid, solid, right? The three states... No, there's four, and the fourth one is plasma, which I would describe imperfectly as like if you heat up gas till it's like the steam of steam or something. Plasma, the fourth state of matter.
Which coincidentally, a lot of what, oh God, what was his name? Nuno Libero? I might have got that wrong. But the the physicist that was just shot in oh god, I'm fully blanking. You guys know who I mean though. He was shot near the university. Was heavily involved in all this kind of stuff, right? The same thing that like Kurt is saying was not taught in our schools, because it probably has a lot to do with exotic propulsion technologies and MIT. Yes, thank you. And all of that kind of thing, right? And he was taken out, and you know, oh, it was just some crazy guy from Portugal. Get on with your lives, people. Love Island starts soon. Shut the fuck up. Eat your fluoride. Thank you.
That's what everything has to do with. And that
isn't it like 90-something% of the universe?
Yeah. And by the way, there's cold plasma and hot plasma. You could make an AI.
Look up what percentage of the universe consists of plasma.
So why would I not learn that in school when I learned the other things? Because they didn't want you looking into it. They classified an area of physics for 80 years, for sure. And that's what the Nazis were doing with their stupid bell, was plasma shit. And
those Nazis and their stupid bell, man. God damn, what were they doing? What were the Nazis doing with their stupid bell? God, I want to know. I want to know. And speaking of that, like, isn't the sun just a giant ball of plasma? Is that correct? And like, you know, you go back to like the Egyptians, like they worshipped the sun, right? Or is that, I could be wrong with that actually. They refer to it as like Ra was the sun god. Did they literally worship the sun as it rose and went down every day, like the physical being of the sun? Or is it more like Ra being like a god of light? That is correct? Okay, there we go. I'll take that. It's interesting, right? That we used to worship this giant ball of plasma, and now we don't even get taught about plasma in the school. Weird. Randall's Crow, thank you very much for the sticker, my man. Appreciate you, brother. All right, let's get on to the next clip here. We're staying on X. No, we're not. We're going to YouTube, and we're going back to Billy Corgan, actually. So this was really easy. He's asleep. God damn it. Wake up, Billy. He's asleep again. This is a really interesting clip. Oh, fuck. I think I forgot to reset it, actually. Starts about here. Every freeze frame I go to, he's asleep. This is about a 4-minute clip that I didn't actually get time to pull. So we're pulling this straight from the episode, which, by the way, is Conrad Flynn on the Magnificent Others podcast with Billy Corgan. And I thought this was really interesting and fitting to the show as well. And it's about Billy's connection to the Freemasons.
There's a writer, Daniel Pinchbeck, who used to write for Arthur Magazine. It was kind of like Oz Magazine from the '60s, but from 20 years ago. And he's kind of a Timothy Leary of Gen X, as Colbert called him.
Okay.
And he's written and talked about the pop star thing in recent years, where he's just like, he's gone full like vigilante citizen, where he's like, they love these intentional occult Illuminati references. This is Daniel.
In my notes, by the way. You're doing a good job there.
Daniel Pinchbeck is, his mom knew, the beats. Like he's a pretty sophisticated dude.
Yeah.
So to your point, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think, of course, Billy. Like it's all pretty obvious.
Well, but maybe to much of the audience that just they're just fans of who they like. They wouldn't necessarily understand. Let's call it the motivations why a pop star would lean into occult imagery. It may not be as simple as they're suddenly joined a secret society and they're giving the weird triangle thing.
Right.
We've all seen those pictures where like, oh my God, they're giving the triangle, whatever that's about. I mean, weirdos like myself, sometimes I
self-proclaimed weirdo, by the way. Billy, come and hang out. Tell me about Tila Tequila.
I did a tour in 2019 around my album's Cotillion. It was a solo album. And I dressed up in Freemason garb for the tour. Having, by the way, no foreknowledge that my ancestors were actually OG Freemasons.
Really?
And there's actually a church built by one of my ancestors in the state of Illinois, where I was born and raised and still live, that's still standing, is a very famous Freemason church.
Really? Wow.
So I actually have OG occult, and my family was one of the original 100 Mormon families as well. So let's play that game for a second, and we'll move on to other people. So for all I know, I'm actually born with, so let's call it the genetic imprint of secret societies. I'm attracted to them. I actually have Masons pull me aside and say, "You sure you don't want to join?"
Oh, yeah.
So they're identifying something in me, or maybe it's just because I'm seen as I have some power in the world. I don't actually have much at all. So again, we're surfing on the wave of like where does the game begin and end, and it's like something out of a Kubrick movie.
I'll
right?
tell you, there's a buddy of mine named, I think his last name's Lyons, Nathan Lyons.
It's interesting, right? This is the same podcast that we looked at before, and oh, that's a rough pause on Conrad there. My apologies. I'm not changing it though. He referenced Kubrick and Eyes Wide Shut before, and that was at a different point in the podcast. So, like, you know, given the things that Billy has experienced, you know, by his own account, it's interesting to hear him consistently coming back and like referencing the fact that he believes that, you know, the things that happen in Eyes Wide Shut are very real. He's approached by the government to leverage his influence. He's spoken openly about shapeshifters. His family is like deeply connected to Freemasonry. You know, I'm not trying to infer what all of this means, other than the fact that like it is just objectively very strange.
Lyons, and he comes from a long line of pastors. And what he told me after my episode is a very nice guy. I knew him a little bit, but afterwards he was like,
When you saying your Tucker Carlson episode? Or?
Yeah, after my
because you said episode.
Psychotic break. After my psychotic break, I met a lot of people. But Nathan told me, you know, because he's from a long line of pastors, and he goes, in America, he goes, because people move around so much and they intermarry on every different level and people don't stay where their family's from, he goes, we don't understand what it's like in other parts of the world, where on a religious aspect, you go to some parts of the world and it's like, well, I'm a witch doctor. My father was a witch doctor. His father was a witch doctor. And they founded the city of Witch Doctoria. And it's like people, if we knew more about our family history, is what he was pointing out. He goes, we would see kind of like the Back to the Future movies. It's like how similar the 19th century version of Billy Corgan is, the 18th, in terms of interest, in terms of spiritual background. But I haven't forgotten that when he told me that. He goes, if you knew more about your own line, he goes, people, they have either, you know, gifts.
So,
yeah.
To be personal, on some level, are you trying to sort of reconcile your grandfather's story? Does that make sense the way I'm asking?
Yeah, I mean, he
I think that's probably the end of that clip there. But I did find that last little bit interesting where they're talking about like the importance of our lineage and the fact that like most of us don't really know our story too well. And they're kind of saying that if we did, you'd probably find perhaps some answers as to like why we are inherently drawn towards like certain things in life, or you know, why we sort of end up on a certain path. And that if we look back, there's often a pattern, and that it's in our bloodlines, which is interesting, right? And it's also interesting if we think about this, what Billy Corgan has spoken about, the fact that he's seen a shapeshifter, and then he's openly here on this podcast saying that his bloodline are like high level Masons and people up, and you know, coincidence? Maybe. I'm not saying Masons are shapeshifters. In fact, you know, I don't even think all Masons are necessarily like bad people or anything like that. I do think on the surface level, it does seem to have like good intentions, but I think like a lot of things, there is like subsects of it that have gone very strange and very weird. I think it would be kind of retarded to be like, oh, they're all devil worshippers. Like, no, I don't necessarily think that. But there does also seem to be some weird shit involved in it, no doubt. Okay. Where are we at? Okay. We have one more clip here. Played this one in the members stream the other day, and it's sort of more, it probably more touches on like what we've spoken about recently with the Ra material, you know, consciousness kind of being almost infinite, the fact that our stream of consciousness may exist beyond this life that we're living now, like in this suit, right? And that when we come back, there may be some kind of like reincarnation cycle that potentially there is some kind of memory wipe happening. And like, I'm saying this just based on theories that people have put out there, right? I'm sure you guys have heard things like, you know, going towards the light when you die is actually like some kind of amnesia technology that kind of resets you without the memory, all this kind of stuff, right? This is Alex Collier, who is actually in the intro of, he's part of the Polarity intro. He's the one who says everything is a polarity. and I'm sure you'll recognize his voice when the clip starts. So this guy, as you can see here, former U.S. Army officer, and also claims to be a contactee, right, from the Andromedans. Now, obviously, you know, these claims are pretty out there. Sure, I totally accept that. But I do find it interesting that like people like this from a military background are just like seemingly kind of marginalized when it comes to the conversation around UFOs and disclosure. I don't know if it's intentionally or like, I don't know if it's by design. I don't know if it's just by chance, but you know, there are people with similar kind of credentials and backgrounds who are saying kind of wild stuff as well, who don't seem to be like included. It could be a coincidence, but I do wonder if it's also by design. Anyway, here is Alex Collier speaking about what he has been told or what he knows about life after death and what happens with our life across, you know, multiple dimensions and lifetimes.
That's one thing that I want to share with you. The other thing is this, and I've had a lot of questions over the years about this, but I had a couple more just in the last 2 weeks regarding this question: what happens when you die? And I have emails to get to, but folks have been really busy just trying to hold things together myself. Okay, but I'll get to your emails here in the next week. When you die, you have choices. You don't know this, but you have choices. When you leave your physical body, it is very typical for you to see yourself standing next to your body with either your loved ones or EMTs or whatever the circumstances are. And you see yourself, and then you'll hear a voice, you'll see the tunnel of light, and the voice will be calling you, or you will hear the voice telepathically telling you to come on, come, you know. Now, as you stand there and you're looking at the tunnel of light, you have a choice. You can go up to this tunnel of light where you'll be with other loved ones that have crossed over, usually, all right? And you'll be put into a system where you are essentially caught in a reincarnational cycle, a loop. Or you can turn around, put the tunnel of light behind you, and what you will see is the entire universe. If you choose to go to the universe instead of the tunnel of light, whatever dimension you came from when you came down here to Earth, okay, we'll keep it all present time and place. Earth, whether it was 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th density, whatever it was, if you choose the universe and you say to yourself, I wish to go home, you will return to that dimension from which you came. So if it's 5, 6, 7, or 8, you will leave here and you will go back to that dimension where I am told you'll be reunited with your soul group. Because we're multidimensional, we're in many places at once. I've never shared this information before.
Says, I heard that when we die, we should not go to the light as it is a trick to recapture our soul to rebirth on Earth. Is that true?
Yeah, that's what I was told. Visayas was very specific. He said, you, of course, can choose to do whatever you want, but none of you ever turn around and look what's behind you. And when I asked, well, what is behind me? He said, freedom. Freedom of Earth. Freedom of the reincarnational cycle.
There you go. Again, don't know if this is true, but I think it's interesting, right? Especially, you know, he spoke about densities as well. And I think it's interesting because it kind of relates in a way to the things that we're going to continue covering in the raw material, which, if you don't know, I've been covering which is a channeled work from the early 80s that I've been started a read through on my channel. The next episode of that will be coming soon. So if you're not subscribed by any chance, make sure you do. If you're interested in that kind of stuff. And I thought this was interesting just about the question of life after death. And I do think he'd be a cool person to talk to. And it doesn't even mean that I necessarily buy in wholeheartedly to like everything that he says. But at the very least, I think it could be a really interesting conversation just to hear those kind of perspectives. By the power of Ra, love going Whitney Webb deep. Thank you very much, Dizzy Chizzy. Appreciate you. And Bob says, Josh, have you seen Alex's 1994 interview? I think you might be referring to like do you mean the lecture that he gave to a classroom in 1994? If so, yes, we've covered that on the channel in a 2-part episode. And that's also where the soundbite comes from in the intro. Super interesting guy. Actually, look, just before we wrap up the show, for anyone who hasn't seen this, we're going to jump back over here very quickly. This is just a short little intro clip from my other channel. You guys probably know I'm sort of traveling at the moment. I got a new video going around Bali on my other channel about showing you. I basically went through like the jungle to the secret beach and tried to give you guys a bit of spiritual context to this place. So I've just got a little intro clip. I'll show you guys. If you're interested, Mods will chuck a link in the chat if you want to sub and go and watch this video over there. No electricity here. I can't remember the last time I felt that I was like this remote. Look at that. They're a little bit vicious. They will rip your things out of your bag. They'll steal your phone, your sunglasses. They will. That actually kind of scared me. And these guys here are having a picnic with a monkey. This is a secluded beach. It's empty. No one goes here. Actually, I think I'm going the wrong way. Well, I'm going to lock him in there. Unlucky for the next person who goes in. Josh. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Are there monkeys on the second floor?
Are there monkeys?
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Okay. You'll protect me from the monkeys?
Me? No.
You'll protect me? You'll protect me. You'll protect me. Okay. This is literally the edge of the world. So that is on my other channel. It's linked in the chat. It's also linked below, Josh Stradamus TV. So if you haven't, go and check it out. Subscribe over there. And I'm planning to bring a lot more content to that channel. Hopefully show you guys some cool sides of the world that you haven't seen before, and just kind of bringing you along for the ride with me. I've been having a lot of fun with that. So that would be awesome if you guys could do that. If you enjoyed this stream today, though, please slap a like on your way out. You guys know that when you like the video, you also get a 20% discount at your local mental health facility when you show your receipt. But thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Keep being good to each other. Be kind. We've got lots of content planned for the next week or so. So subscribe if you haven't. $2 for the packet of Tim Tams. Thank you very much, Jake Tucker. And I will see you guys in the next one. Get outside, touch some grass. Peace.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.